welcome today. Thank you for joining us. I recognize a couple of faces, but I'll just introduce myself. My name is Kelly Schild. I'm with CAI headquarters. I also have Emily and Crystal from headquarters with us today. We're all a part of our chapter relations team. And one of the initiatives that we've started over the past year or 2 years, I should say now, since the pandemic came, was trying to really connect the chapter leadership. And we thought that it would be really good to connect all of you who are working on the education for the chapters and just give you guys a forum to network with your other peers, see what other chapters are doing, have the ability to ask questions, provide feedback. So really today is this open forum for you guys to all connect to your peers. Please feel free to use the chat, to come off of mute and share vocally. Again, we are recording this so that if you want to share this with any of your committee members, your chapter staff, or other leadership, or just because someone couldn't come to the call today, you are going to be able to share this with them as well. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Okay, so one of the things that we really wanted to ask you all, and we're also getting this question too, is what are the hot topics that you're hearing from your chapters, or the hot topics that you're planning to provide to your chapters for education in 2022? Go ahead, Charlotte.
I mean, I think it's heavy on everyone's mind for the loss of life, of course, first and foremost, but the Champlain Towers is big for us, and what we can gather from what happened and learn from. So I think that's been a really prevalent topic, and it kind of runs across all vendors, of course, all community managers. It entices board members to become more involved and understand what's needed to avoid situations like that. So I think that's probably the heaviest on everyone's mind.
And for that topic, Charlotte, are you just using your local chapter resources, or are you also reaching out to headquarters to connect, to get some speakers and content?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. Because I'm a CERMS, I was on the CERMS task force, so I got to be part of those meetings and hear a lot. And I really, as a local chapter member, really appreciate the support that we had from national and keeping everyone in the loop. So a little bit of both. We are utilizing a lot of our local representatives to educate and, of course, do everything with a very soft touch because of the gravity of the topic. But we are also approaching folks on a national level as well to get their expertise involved.
Great, thank you. Sarah, I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Charlotte. I'm with the same chapter, and actually what Charlotte left out is all of the work she's doing behind the scenes. It's a 4-part virtual series, so it's not just a one-off program. So we're covering a lot of different aspects of it. And also because it's virtual, we are able to reach, we're from the Base End chapter, so we're able to reach East Bay, North Bay, Stockton area, and kind of capture a lot of the audience by doing it virtually. We've done one program, we had over 100 registered, and they were in the chat day of saying, when's the next program, when's the next program? So I just thought you should know Charlotte's actually doing a lot more than just that.
Great, thank you. Catherine, I see you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, I think that also one of the big things besides the insurance and the insurance is that educating the management and board members about the requirements that are trickling down from this event is like, I know in our area alone, in the Washington metropolitan area, there's the reserve requirements have changed. The fact that every single board member is now worried about the structural integrity of the building that they're in, and this impacts a lot of the older buildings, especially if you're in an area where you have a lot of older buildings.
Great, thank you. Just I'm not sure if you guys are all comfortable with Zoom or not, but at the bottom of your toolbar is a little reactions button. if you could do like a check or a thumbs up or something like that, who is planning to do an education session in 2022 on this topic? All right, so I see quite a few who are planning to do that topic. Thank you. Sandra, I see you're off mute. Did you want to say anything?
Yes, along with that, we do have a condominium in our local suburb that has been condemned by the city and is set for raising. They contacted the people like in the middle of the night and gave them 10 minutes to get out. There's a lot more to that story, but I think that it's really be coming to the forefront due to the Florida collapse. But also hot for us is the insurance, of course, and service animals. I don't know about you, but we have so many issues, or emotional support animals, equally a big issue for places, especially those that are no pet. So that's another thing. And I just got back from the law seminar, and Regulation F is going to be the next hot topic for everyone. The change with the FDCPA, I think it had a lot of people concerned. So that will definitely be topics that we discuss this year.
Great. And again, are you looking at your local membership to get those speakers, or are you looking outside of the local area too?
We have done both.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Anybody else like to share any of your hot topics, or even just topics that you're planning to cover this year?
Yeah, how about we're almost out of COVID? Hopefully, we're coming out of it. I think that the impact that it's had on everyone, not only like with the emotional support animals, with everybody's at home wanting to complain about their neighbor, like that all is now like I think we're coming to a point where everybody's like, done. And you can see it, and all the angst that's been building up, that's been everywhere for the last 2 years, and how it impacts not only professionally, because we lost a lot of, in this region at least, a lot of senior managers and a lot of senior board members, and that historical knowledge goes with them.
Yeah, thank you. Jill, I see you've got your hand raised.
Hey everybody, sorry, it is monsooning and I'm in my car, so hopefully, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, we actually just had our legal panel, our almost free legal advice luncheon. We just came from it just now. It's our most highly attended event that we have every year. So that's always a great one. We do that one every year. But afterwards, we had a small committee meeting, and one of the things that we discussed about doing this year is how to bring fun to the boards, how to bring fun, because everything's always so serious, which is going to get more engagement, more members. So we are trying to incorporate that into our trade show, which we're also trying to rename and not call it a trade show. We're trying to make that more fun as well. But that's actually something I wanted to ask you all at National is would National have any kind of speaker that would be able to talk on just motivational, just engagement and fun things, because we're looking to have a speaker at our event. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
I can speak to that a little bit. Thanks, Jill. And I hope that you are being careful driving. We definitely can help chapters when you need speakers. We have some people available from the Board of Trustees and the senior leadership, or can help identify somebody locally as well sometimes. On the motivation front, I have to think about, I mean, most of the stuff is either very, from the board, very topical to the industry, or from the staff side, more legislative, strategic planning, board training type stuff. So, but I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more. I have someone potentially who could fit the bill, but we can talk a little more offline.
Yep. And speaking of that too, all of your chapter executive directors have access to a chapter speakers bureau. So we have asked chapters that if you have a really great speaker come in or something that your members just love, to provide us with that information. It is something that we're currently growing, so we don't have a ton in there. But I know we do have a couple motivational people in there. And we do list if there's a cost associated with that as well. So I do recommend, if you're looking for a certain topic, please connect with your chapter executive directors to look there. Also, on the flip side, if you do have a really great presentation or speaker, please have your executive director put that into the speakers bureau to share with other chapters, or they can send it to one of us on the chapter relations team, and we can go ahead and add that in there as well. So again, just the more we can share with each other, the better, I feel.
I'd like to add, just because I've seen Kelly and Crystal the most this year, but we also have the high rise. That was a big change this year, and an exciting one, that we're going to have the high rise designation kind of class workshop, and I think that that's something that came out of everything in the last year.
Yep. Thank you, Catherine. That is. Thank you. Any other topics that anyone wants to share that your chapter is going to be holding in 2022? All right. Well, if you guys think of anything, please feel free to use the chat and put those topics in. Also in the chat, if you wouldn't mind, while I open up this next topic, will you let us know if you're planning on doing in-person events, virtual events, hybrid events, both? Again, I know the landscape's different in all the different regions of the country, but just to get an idea, we've heard a lot of feedback that since people have been doing things virtually, that some are going to keep virtual, or maybe one course virtual because it works for a certain membership type over others. So I'm just curious what your plans are with that. So again, if you could put that in the chat, that would be great. But the next question I have for the group is, how are you getting your speakers and making sure that they're engaging during the presentation?
Besides just doing calls for presentation throughout the year, or in addition to, because I mean, pretty much our Todd can also speak to this. We do a call for presentation and reach out to our membership, and really we get a good variety of speakers and people in the industry to provide their professional opinions, from attorneys to contractors, board members. I think we've had all of the above.
Great, thank you. Martha, I see you've unmuted yourself. Did you want to share?
Yeah, ours is kind of the same way. I'm with the Greater Los Angeles chapter, so we have kind of a bigger chapter, and we pull from our vendors, from our membership. A lot of times the speakers don't necessarily come from the membership, but they're connected from members. You know, they work together or heard them speak. We like to have that connection, so it makes it more personable for the members in general.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Charlotte.
I think this is kind of a hard one because, well, so what we do, we have subcommittee chairs, and you know, they kind of run the gamut. Like they're in multiple locations, they have multiple expertise. So usually, you know, they'll kind of know their go-to for speaking. But I will say, I think we can all attest to this. There are those that are great speakers that are engaging, that can really, even in a virtual world, get people engaged. And there are those speakers that fall a little flat. And so it's hard because we want to make sure that there's diversity. We want to make sure that we give everyone a fair shake at it. But there's some speakers that you don't necessarily want coming back. And then those speakers that are pretty excellent at what they do, they're like raising their hand all the time. I'll do it, I'll do it. And then you're accused of favoritism or, well, wait, we just heard them speak. So this is a tough one. I'd really love to hear some feedback on any strategies to try to mix things up a bit.
Todd, go ahead.
So one of the things that we're doing in Washington now is migrating everything to a rather hybrid platform so it can be both presented in virtual or in person. Part of the motivation for that was because of the fluidity associated with the COVID and public health response and so forth. But the other reason we do it is because for any of you that spend any time in the Washington metropolitan region, you know our traffic sucks. So it has directly impacted attendance at educational events. And we've done everything, including pulling out my hair to figure out why people don't come. And, you know, we've changed the location, we've made it breakfast, we've made it lunch, we've involved alcohol, we've removed alcohol, but you know, it's getting people in a chair, getting them educated has always going to have some challenges to it. But I think one of the things that, and I don't know if this is necessarily letting the cat out of the bag, but we're trying to create a video library from our hybrid recordings that allow people to come in at a later time at unscheduled and kind of further their CEUs that way. So there you are, you have all of what Washington's planning to do.
Great. And again, with those reactions, because I know a few other chapters do this as well, how many of you have a video library or one that you're planning in the near future to have? Great. Great. Anybody else have any other comments on speakers or speaker training? Go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna mention, and this might be too early because literally the Los Angeles board is going to discuss this tomorrow. But one of the things on the subject of speakers and whether they're flat speakers or profound speakers, the Los Angeles chapter is actually looking to incorporate a Toastmasters club that's an industry-specific Toastmasters club for our community leaders, our business partners, and our managers so that everybody can work together and hopefully we can create better speakers out of that whole organization. But I don't know if, again, it's very early in the stages, so we don't know if it's going to transpire or not, but that's something different that we're looking to incorporate.
That's great. Thank you, Martha. That's a great idea. All right. How else are you guys getting your speakers? They just come running and want to be a part of it. Go ahead, Kathy. I see you came off mute.
Sometimes it's just from word of mouth where there's a member on the committee that knows somebody that would be great. We try to find people that are more engaging, especially if you're doing it through a webinar virtually, but it just kind of organically happens.
That's great. Robin, I think I saw you come off mute too.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm driving in that same range Jill is driving in right now, so no fun. I work with Kentucky chapter and a Florida chapter, and one of the things I'm doing in both places is we're trying to have a bunch of panel events. So, for example, one on like bringing into the outdoors. And so we reached out to all the people inside our membership, and I CC'd them all on the same email so they could see each other's names there and ask them if they wanted to be part of that panel. Because sometimes when you see your friendly competition or your, a friendly strategic partner, they're more inclined to kind of do it together. And so that's been helpful. And then sometimes people don't actually feel like they have a presentation to give. So asking them to be the speaker could be kind of off-putting. But if you ask them to be part of a panel, it's a little bit less, I think, daunting for them in some ways. And then we just get a facilitator either from our board or I facilitate it sometimes, kind of depending. And we ask them to submit us questions in advance that they want us to ask them in that panel so that they can really demonstrate their expertise. And they're not sales presentations, right? We don't want it to be too salesy. It's content-rich stuff. But it is that works pretty well, and then you have multiple speakers on the same topic.
Great, thank you, Robin. Brittany, I had saw that you had come off mute for a second. Did you want to?
I was just filling some silence, I guess. Nothing real original that hasn't been said. We do applications that we put out for membership annually. And, word of mouth from past for capacity that we think would just, be engaging, really looking for, honestly, first and the information kind of secondary, not going to fall.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
Aloha, everyone from Hawaii. What we've tried to do internally just from our management company is all of our new leadership that come on board, we give them 1 year to get a little comfortable, and then we force them to volunteer to speak at a CAI event, and they do it.
Now, do they get to pick the topic, or do you guys recommend a topic that they speak on?
We make the recommendation because we have a committee that comes up with all of the seminar content, and we tell them, okay, here's the content. You're a professional and expert. You have 15 minutes to speak on it. And so far they've been successful, and it's been a really good way to just kind of force them in and get them involved.
Great, thank you. All right, so the next question that I have for you, because I've been hearing this a lot, of one of the struggles with going virtual is that your business partners that are within your chapter are also offering education to your members. And it's easy for them to offer it in that virtual landscape. So I want to throw out there, what are your chapters doing to try to partner with these business partners to make sure that education is connected with the chapter? Go ahead, Catherine.
We usually, once they give a presentation, somebody finds out, and then we're like, oh, that's a great presentation. Come and do it for us. That's how it's happened. We got a lot of presentations in the last year from just saying, oh, I heard you did a presentation for this group. Why don't you come and put in a presentation, call for presentations? And I think that a couple of them have been selected to be on the education round for this year.
Great. Go ahead, Charlotte.
I actually belong to other organizations, and there are very strict rules on this, that if you're a vendor within the organization, you may not offer separate education, which I think is interesting. And that's hard because a lot of our marketing is around like those lunch and learns and those opportunities to teach. I think our chapter is very fortunate though, because we only use panelists. So all of our presentations have at least 2 people from 2 different industries for the most part. So it's very tailored to multiple people, whereas like me, I represent insurance. I'll do a lunch and learn, and it is strictly about insurance, because that's my expertise. So I wouldn't say that we're running into a lot of competition with one another. And I don't know, Sarah, if Sarah's a part of my chapter too. I don't know if you feel the same way, that there just doesn't seem to be that competition, because our CAI focus is those panelists and getting, multiple expertise together to present something cohesive.
I completely agree. And I'm even thinking about, the friendly competition, maybe competition amongst business partners, but not the chapter. It's not versus the chapter. So I don't think we've had a conflict in the Base End chapter.
Great. Tracy, I see you came off mute. Did you want to say something?
Yes, Tracy here from Austin, and everything that you all have been saying is exactly what we've been going through. We have a very small chapter here in Austin, however, very larger chapters in Dallas and San Antonio and Houston. So for us, and maybe for you guys, if you can just kind of hop over to the next chapter, we've been doing that lately just because we are so small here in Austin. We don't have a lot of pool, to grab speakers. It seems same thing, same speakers from the same companies, do a great job, but it's kind of the same thing. People are thinking we're, playing favorites. That's not the case. So we just recently heard that a vendor in San Antonio did a really great job on a topic, and it's not coming to me right this second, but we asked them if they would mind coming over to Austin and doing it for us, and they did. And so for them as a marketing partner or a business partner, they're getting the marketing in a different, area. It worked out great. It was new. No one had seen this person. And so it worked out great for us to be able to just reach out to the neighboring chapters also.
And speaking to that, Tracy, have you guys ever partnered with another chapter? I know some chapters are connected together, and I might call out you, Vicki, a little bit because I see you from Michigan. I don't see anyone else from Michigan and Minnesota who are kind of far from each other, but we're able to use the virtual landscape and hold two chapter events, or not two chapter events, one chapter event virtually together. And so they were able to partner. It helped with the cost of getting a speaker in and things like that. So again, just another idea for you guys to think about, especially if you are going virtual or offering something virtual, to partner with another chapter, which again, here are your peers that you can work with and reach out to with that. Andy, I see you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think, we have a lot of involvement from our vendors. I think as most, do, we do the legal, whether it's a roundtable or it's a panel, it's rotations. We do the same thing with insurance, but we also do one for maintenance. We've been doing that probably the past, 4 or so years. And it's a roundtable, rotation that allows us to really tap into a lot of the other vendors that, have expertise in different, areas, whether it's, landscaping, it's painting, it's general maintenance, any number of those topics. And then we just are constantly, there's a lot of different vendors, there's a lot of different maintenance needs. And so we're constantly rotating, through, which allows us, one, to expand beyond the typical insurance, and kind of attorney partners, which we're fortunate we have plenty. So we're able to rotate, through them, but, with this maintenance roundtable allows us to tap into a number of other vendors that typically, I would say, we don't necessarily see a lot of those topics as needing a full, 1.5 hour standalone, but you break it into 3 and you give everybody 20 minutes for presentation and a little bit of Q&A. And it does allow us to attract people, because people aren't as afraid of putting together a 15-20 slide presentation, but you ask them to speak for an hour and a half, it's a lot more daunting. And so that's what the one, I think, little twist. I'm not sure how many other chapters do that with kind of maintenance roundtable, but that's also allowed us to avoid some of the, well, how come only the attorneys and the insurance agents ever get to present or speak.
Great, thank you, Andy. Would anybody else like to share? I saw some cameras just go on, so. All right, go ahead. I heard someone.
Most of our topics that we have education-wise through the CAI are more industry specific and more towards either the managers or the community leaders. We actually gear it as a broad topic with the panelists so that our vendors, there isn't a competition between what the vendors offer versus, we're never going to have an education topic on mold. We might have an education topic on remediation as a whole. And so there's always that opportunity for the vendors to specifically go and have their lunch and learn on just mold or just asbestos or something, whereas we try to make it more broad so that there isn't a conflict between what the vendor's education is versus what CAI is offering.
Great, thank you. All right, speaking of kind of the topics, are you planning this year to offer more of that basic level of information, or are you working on any of like advanced topic style education topics? Go ahead, Kathy.
We added something new to the mix this year that we're doing. It's called Graceful Evolution, where I'm talking about different generations and how that impacts your chapter and your members. We got that speaker from one of our managers that attended a presentation at actually the apartment association. So we're doing that in August. That's something different that we're adding because we're hearing from a lot of our members that, that different generations are, affecting different parts of our industry. So anyway, that's something new that we're doing. I'll let you guys know, after it happens, how it goes.
Great. All right. Well, the last thing that I really have for today is just to open it up to you. If there's anything that you want to share that's been really successful, if there's anything that is a challenge to you right now that, again, you've got the ears of your peers. So, this is definitely the group that can help assist with maybe working out some of those challenges. So again, feel free to unmute yourself or even put something in the chat. Go ahead, Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki from Illinois. My question, so I am the chair for the homeowners education here in Illinois. How do you get board members to sign up for these events? Like, what are you doing to promote them besides the standard CAI, here's our list of events? What are you doing outside of the box to encourage more board members?
We're actually working on a survey because that is a challenge. We have a good amount of homeowner leaders as members, but not a whole lot in attendance. So we started working on a survey to try to gauge what it is they're looking for, just so that we can hear from them. Okay, we're not hitting the mark, so what is that mark? Also, I have found, again, kind of going back to the tragedy of Champlain Towers, is we've got more homeowner leaders paying attention to maintenance and things like that. And frankly, quite worried and scared. And so I think any topic around maintenance, reserve studies, going through the process of what happened in Florida, it's getting a lot of homeowner interest. And really that's very helpful for the vendors too, and the managers that serve them, because one of the hardest things as a community manager, as we know, is getting people to raise assessments and take on the maintenance cost. And so I think this is all kind of lining things up to make a difference, to make an impact down to those homeowner leaders. But yes, it's been a challenge thus far for our chapter as well.
I know in Los Angeles last year, we split the education into 2 committees. We now have a manager education committee and a homeowner education committee. And the homeowner education committee is run by board members. The manager education is primarily run by managers. And that has helped gear the topics and the time frame. Managers, we want to meet during, working hours, versus homeowners need evening events. And so that's really helped us by having 2 separate committees to gear it towards the owners.
Has anyone worked with the management companies to try to get their board leaders more involved or educated so that they're being more functionable and also have success with doing that?
I can answer a little bit to that. So I run the management company here in Austin, and we're one of the companies that have totally bought into CAI, and we're a big supporting company, which a lot of them are not. A lot of them do not want to have their board members show up to CAI because they think, then it's free game and the board members are gonna, change management companies. So we do have a little bit of that issue. But for us, and to answer a little bit more of Nikki of how do you get these board members to CAI, our company pays for all education, not only for our employees, but for our board members. So that kind of helps to get the board members on board to want to come. But we also reach out to our managers in our company and other companies that are involved, and ask them to put a flyer in the board packet. So our company, our management company, actually puts a flyer in the board packets each month or quarterly or whenever they meet as to the CAI benefits and what there is to offer to our board members. So we try our best in doing that just because we're big supporters of CAI. I know not every management company does that, but that's what we do.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. We just started this year, and I reach out to the management companies and ask them if I can come in and do a little presentation on CAI, and we furnish them the lunch. So I explain the importance of CAI and the education we have and what we can offer to help train their boards so they're easier to work with. And it's really helped, and with the relationships with the management companies. Also during COVID, we did a special virtual meeting bi-weekly with the managers, the management companies, to help them deal with the issues they were doing. So that's really helped with our relationship with the management companies. But we have a flyer that the management companies can put into their board packets to their board members to help explain CAI and what we can do for them. And we've got some new membership out of it too. So it is helping.
Great. Thank you, Vicky. Jacqueline, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, so I'm Jackie. I'm from the New Jersey chapter. We do free education for our homeowners. We subsidize the education through sponsorships. We find that's really the only way that we're going to get them there. They're not willing to pay any fees. So
I did see a couple people chat that they also offer free programs. Again, if you offer any discounts or free education, feel free to put that in the chat, and we will track some of these responses to send that out to everybody. Well, I hope that helped a little bit, Nikki. Anybody else have any challenges that you want to throw out there that you're working with? How are all your committee members doing? You know, is everyone pretty engaged on your committees? Yes. You don't have any struggles with your other volunteer peers? Go ahead, Todd.
We have a group of the usual suspects that I would call the dedicated few that come to every meeting, and you can rely on them for input and feedback, and that part of it's fine. We run a second program at the beginning of the year to solicit more volunteers onto the committee, but it's kind of like a New Year's resolution. By March or April, you start to see those numbers start to tail off again, and it goes back to the usual suspects. But every now and then we'll pick up one or two, get some new blood in the system, and sometimes it's helpful.
We had our luncheon today, and for the first time put out sign-up sheets for committees, and actually got some 3 people that volunteered today. So we were super excited about that. Robin's on this call. She's our CD, and she actually told them that they could not have chocolate cake unless they signed up for a committee. But we have, just like probably other people, our board has done everything. Our board has been the committees, and so to get some new blood today was very exciting for us.
Congratulations. I know that's the biggest struggle sometimes, is to get that new blood in. Nikki?
So on the committee it's usually the same people who sign up to lead the classes. We have the circle of committee members who do all of the work, and then we have the quiet ones in the back, or the newer ones that we're not helping. So at the last meeting, I pushed for a new process. So anyone who's been there under 2 years has to volunteer to shadow one of our regulars who are leading these classes. So in the event they leave, there's always people who know the process. So, and I also called out names. So the last meeting, everyone is volunteered as part of either an ed talk or a Q&A, but everyone has a part they're playing because they have to, because they had less time. And it was just a way to get everybody pulled in instead of just our regular people helping out.
Great, thank you. All right.
I think we have, in the Washington metropolitan area, we actually have a membership committee also that goes out and pulls where it's also, they encourage people, and that committee is very involved in that process for us at least.
Great, thank you. And I know there's a couple chapters that actually have volunteer committees that are recruiting. I know Illinois does a lot of recruitment. If you're looking at what they do, they have a fantastic training program and everything like that. So I highly recommend visiting their website in their volunteer section for that. Brittany?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I'm on the volunteer commission for the Illinois chapter and would be happy to talk to anybody who's looking at implementing orientation for new volunteers and placement or recruitment.
Thanks, Brittany. So I just want to end today with thanking everyone for participating today and joining us. We hope that you have a great 2022. And if you need anything, please feel free to contact anyone from the chapter relations team here at CAI headquarters, or again, connect with your chapter executive director or your chapter leadership, and they can contact us as well for anything. Thank you.